G'day, Ronnie. How are you?
Good, Jim. How are you, mate? How's
Good.
Manly?
Perfect, as always. So budget out last night, Ronnie. It's been described as a budget for the care economy, good aged care provisions, good childcare provisions, disability care provisions. But, fundamentally for acquirer and your clients, how's it going to affect your clients moving forward? What's your take on it?
I think it's not a bad budget because it does address a fair few shortages that have been left in the care industry. Childcare, aged care, they've definitely been left out in the past, and they're areas that are needed. And we're seeing our elderly clients now struggle with aged care, so that's an improvement. And we do see working families struggle to justify putting mum back to work when the cost of care is so high. So if those things can happen, I think we might see families do a little bit better, which will ultimately help that area of our client base where they're working to pay off the debts, working on their cash flow, trying to grow their wealth. Those will provide a little bit of bonuses for them. So I think that'll be helpful. Didn't see a whole lot relating to retirement. I mean, there's those changes that have come through to super. The downsizer one's nice. It's a nice bonus. But I don't think there's anything fundamentally that's going to be huge in those areas. I think where it has impacted small businesses, I think it's been a lot of change in there that will flow through to help businesses continue to get through this, growing economy or regrowing economy on the back of COVID. So it's sort of like it's a budget that the government had to deliver. I think to tick a lot of boxes. I don't think it's made necessarily anyone really happy, but it hasn't left anyone too sad. You look at, I think the Queensland Premier up here is, shouting out saying Queensland's been shortchanged. We've got a huge, obviously, tourism and hospitality industry. They're still struggling. But it's good to see, you go out to the restaurants and hotels here and they are busy, but they're still really trying to recover. So a little bit more support from them, I think, would have been beneficial.
Anyone listening, could you explain just in simple terms, what has some of the changes now for 60-year-olds and over being able to proceeds of sale going into super and also the change in the caps? Could you just explain exactly what that might be in simple man's language?
Yeah. So previously, the government had a position that if you'd had a house for 10 years, that if you sold that and there was leftover equity, up to $300,000 per person, member of a couple, could be contributed to superannuation without impacting the cap. So normally there's a contribution cap. This year it's $300,000, which is 3 lots of one because it's 100,000 per year. That's being lifted to 330, which is good. That comes in, but this $300,000 downsizer ability has been wound back to people from age 60. So means you don't have to. So previously, once you were 65, you couldn't access or you couldn't contribute to super. So you only had the $300,000 downsizer contribution, where now you can do the downsizer contribution, 300,000, plus still potentially do your $330,000 concessional contribution. So there is a way to get more money into super. But there's still only a $1.7 million pension cap. It was 1.6, so it's gone up 100,000. So, the cornerstone of super for retirement planning has lifted that ability for people. When we did have a client last year who was 64, husband was 67, we maxed out her $300,000 limit. Did the husband for the downsize, but we had money left over. And in this case, we could have put money back into her superannuation. So I think there's going to be opportunities there.
Okay. And so generally, is it fair to say this is a sales budget for the next election?
I think they're probably going to roll out another one where they'll spend a bit more. There was definitely sweeteners in here. So whether it's the one they take to the election, I think they'll probably deliver another one before. I think they've still got a bit more work to do with small business.
Yeah. So on that, was there anything missing that you thought, it's a pity that wasn't in there for your clients?
Look, apart from super, there wasn't really anything in there for our clients. So on first take, I haven't really dissected enough to look at what I think's missing. There was nothing glaringly obvious, I don't think. But there's always a lot of things that come out after the budget of how each little change is going to have an impact. So we'll look forward to seeing how that rolls out over the next month or so.
And last question, Ronnie, deficits seem to be going through the roof for quite some time to come. Your take on that?
Yeah, well, they seem to say, well, it's not as bad as a deficit as what we thought, so it's good.
Well, I guess so. in some ways, they're right. You know, we all thought probably a year ago who'd think that we've got unemployment where it is, and who'd think we've got sort of, whilst it is a two-speed economy, we've certainly got fantastic results coming from the banks, mining industry, tech. So we're probably in a much better position than we thought we would be. But the deficits, when you still look at it historically, they're going through the roof for the next 10 years, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, and the question is, how do they recover that back? So, you know, ultimately, there has to be some sort of tax reform. I think we're still operating in a very old tax system, 21st century. I think our tax system's over 100 years old, that realistically needs to have some decent reform. But I don't know which government's going to be brave enough to really get into that.
Yeah, this takes brave leadership, Reine. Maybe they're not ready for that yet. Thanks, Reine. That's really been good. Thank you very much for that budget update.
Good to see you.